Welcome to the D-Shift podcast, where we provide inspiration, motivation, and education to help you transition from the challenges of divorce to discover the freedom and ability to live life on your own terms. Are you ready? Let's get this shift started. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the D-Shift podcast. And we are going to get super creative and talk all about how important it is to tap into our creative side when we're going through challenges or just to have a better quality of life. So I want to introduce you to my guest, Jenny Elinora. She is a creative empowerment coach and a musician. So, all those creative things are coming together, dedicated to helping women over 50 rediscover their voices and live their creative dreams. She uses a holistic approach, including sound healing, somatic practices, and creative coaching to help women connect with their authentic selves. And I just love this because we've talked so much about during divorce, how you really have the opportunity to come back to yourself. Because we get pulled in different directions as moms and wives and professionals and people on planet Earth. And this is a chance where we can really come back to ourselves. So, Jenny, welcome.
Thank you, Mardi.
It's so good to have you here. We haven't had anybody talk about this whole idea of tapping into our creativity. So before we get into all the juicy details, tell us a little bit about why this is now your area of focus and why it is your passion.
Yeah, well, that is the juicy details in some ways, because I didn't sing in public till I was 33, which was when I was in the middle of a divorce. Uh, and I'm 50 now. And yeah, the whole element of creativity and play was, as is for a lot of people, as is especially for a lot of women, was kind of stifled throughout my life. In childhood, I wouldn't say specifically my family, but the culture around me was
Sure.
was creatively stifling and sometimes even silencing of my voice as a female. And by the time I was, a young adult, I had really silenced myself, as we do.
Yeah.
So when I was in my early 30s and in the middle of relationship changes and divorce, I found what I call a creative champion. I think that's a phrase from Julia Cameron, who wrote The Artist's Way. And that person helped me to finally share my music. I had been doing it, sort of hiding it even from myself for that whole few decades.
Right.
I wouldn't even almost admit to myself that I was, loved to sing and that I was writing some songs now and then. And just one day, out of the blue, I said to this person who was at the time mostly an acquaintance, I said, I wrote a song last night, and I don't know why I said it even because I was generally terrified of admitting it to anybody. So, and then that person is a musician. That person is my partner today too. That person is a musician and is particularly open-hearted and about music and about people being able to express themselves creatively through music. So they supported me. And really soon after that, I was like, actually, within a year of that, I was teaching voice lessons.
Wow.
And like that my life was there was a lot of reasons my life was changing at that time, as we all know from when you divorce. Everything changes
Yes.
usually or quite often. So yeah, I ended up directing a play or being in my first play, and then a year or two later I was directing a play. So this whole creative flourishment just happened just at first from one creative champion.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then fast forward to now and why I'm doing this today. This is I was 50 a couple of years ago, and that was the year that I put out my own first solo music at the age of 50. And pretty soon on the heels of that, I recognized that all along through the voice and performance coaching locally, that I had kind of helped certain people have this creative epiphany where they would do like come to me for songwriting, for example, or for singing, and then they would like, oh, they would get going on their novel again, or like they'd have this big flourishing just like I had. So I realized that having had it, that I have it to give. And so a little over a year ago, I launched this programs, my Grow Your Whole Voice programs, which is about helping women, especially women and femmes, to tap and leverage your energies of creativity and play to just bring joy to any part of your life. Like you don't have to be an artist, quote unquote, pig, quote unquote. We're all artists of our lives, I believe. But you could be an entrepreneur. That's my creative outlet right now is entrepreneurship. You
Sure.
could you could be a caregiver. There's so much creativity in caregiving, and just our lives are creative. So I help people leverage those energies now to make our lives more joyful.
Well, I mean, so this is what, and I've said this before, and I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but it really is when people have a lived experience and then have made that themselves better or made their world better, that quite often they feel called to support other people that are going through that same challenge. And so I love this. And I think you're downplaying a little bit you won an award, did you not, for your music?
Yeah, I co-produced and performed on an album that won a Tammy Award for Best Vermont Rock Album of 2019. That was with David Rosane and the Zookeepers, and it's a fabulous album. It was my first time getting to try my hand at producing, and yeah, I really, really, really enjoy it.
That's amazing. So this whole idea of creativity and kind of turning back to creativity is the idea that we lose that sense of play. Like you said, quite often, we're asked to babysit or take care of younger siblings or help out around the house. It's just girls, boys get this too. But do you think that creativity allows us to kind of tap into that, inner child or that younger version of ourselves that was living without all this stress and worry that we have as adults?
Yeah. And I might even go a little deeper and further to say that in some ways, culturally, we're even shamed for continuing playful energies beyond a certain age, or even at a young age in certain contexts, right? We really, like it's a thing. It's a
Yeah.
thing that helps to keep us in line, I guess, to help keep us socially acceptable. And unfortunately, it's a thing that where the pendulum swings too far, right?
Right.
Like like it would be a lot better. Obviously, there are times when we need to like, you know,
Sure.
rein it in to some, for whatever reason. But yeah, there definitely needs to be a balance, and that's why I'm passionate now about helping us find that balance again for ourselves, and even use it to move our lives forward.
Right. Well, and there's so much research now. So I used to be a school teacher for many years, like 30 years ago. And one of the things, like even then, now I wasn't in the States, I was in Canada, but there was a lot more experiential stuff in classrooms and almost not quite a Montessori approach, but more of a, you know, allowing children to learn based on at that time, the whole, are you an auditory learner, are you a kinesthetic learner, like that was really big news then. But there was more of a focus, and I think as adults, we, as we get older, we don't realize how that play and that creativity really helps us deal with stress, problem solving, conflict resolution, team building, all of that stuff, right? And when you're going through a divorce or post divorce, those are the skills you really need to bring back into your life.
Mm, absolutely.
Now,
Okay.
I was going to say, tell us a little bit about how do women in particular realize if they've got this creativity that they want, that's bubbling up in them? Because I'm going to tell you, I am not a creative person. I'm just not. And now I know there's different ways to be creative, but how what are you feeling if you're thinking like, wow, I'd like to be more creative? Like, how do people decide that they want to do that?
Well, at first I ask you to borrow my faith. uh, because yeah, the phrase "I am not a creative person" is one that actually hurts my heart a little bit. I have learned and I have witnessed it through many different, not just this work currently, but through many different elements and phases of my life, that we all are creative beings. It's our birthright to be creative, and we're creating our lives even every moment. Like this moment, you and I are both creating each of our lives. So yeah, that's the first thing, is to like make it a mantra or whatever, like I am a creative being. I am a creative being, and borrow my faith in it, even if you don't feel it yet. That's the first thing that I would say. And then yeah, once you're choosing to go ahead and know that about yourself, or at least to say, well, it could be that, right? Maybe I'm that way. At least that step, right? Then uh as I think play, I'm learning. I just started the play programming back in the spring. But so this is brand new learning for me too, because I'm doing, the play programming is also helping myself. I'm learning that play is probably the single most door opening energy, the play state, as Stuart Brown would call it. That's from the National Institutes of Play, is the single most door opening energy towards being creative, towards infusing creativity into any part of your life, and into understanding how you might be most creative, the areas of your life. So for example, if you are a if one of your natural play preferences is social play, right? Then you're probably a very creative caregiver by nature,
Okay.
right? There's the social element in both. So that's just one example, and I could go into that for a long time for all those details, but yeah, I have programs and stuff on all that at this point. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think
did I answer your question?
yes, and I think that's so when I said I'm not creative, what I meant, what I should have said is I'm not creative in the way that most of us were brought up to see creative. Like basically when I grew up, if you were creative, you had a good imagination, you could write, you could perform music or play a musical instrument, you could draw or paint. Maybe you could do pottery. Like that was really it. That's what creative meant. And now I have grown to, like you said, you can be creative as an entrepreneur and creating new businesses. You can be creative in, you know, manifesting what you need in your life. And that's where I think we have to move to, is understanding all those different aspects of creativity.
Yes. I mean, the very word, like language is my degree. Uh, and the very word creative obviously is based in create. And we really can create, and do as humans, create almost everything.
Sure.
So yeah, I feel like there are forces, the ones that are related to that shame that I mentioned earlier, cultural forces that have a stake, I guess, in making us narrow that definition of creativity down, and to
Right.
narrow things down into like talent and stuff like that.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Talent. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
big that in big air quotes too.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of women that are sitting there and thinking, yeah, I love to just, what energizes me is just putting on music and listening to it, or writing a poem, or being out in nature, or creating beautiful flower beds, or quilting, or like whatever it is. What are some of the benefits, as if you're going through a traumatic thing like a divorce, or an upsetting or a stressful thing like a divorce? What are some of the benefits of tapping back into your creative nature?
Yeah, you mentioned some of them earlier. I think you said less stress and more productivity and focus. Some of the ones that are those are sort of top of mind ones, I guess. Uh, there's some that are another layer deep that we might not notice, because we get less stress and more focus and productivity out of being able to play and be more creative. We actually literally give ourselves time. Like we become a little bit more, what I call, energetically efficient, right? Like time, it's not always that we get minute for minute more times, because though sometimes we do, because if we're more focused, we get something done quicker, right?
Sure.
Also, though, as far as energetic time goes, when we're in a play state or in a state of creative flow, time stretches out. Our experience of it stretches out, so we feel like our lives are longer. And that's a beautiful thing, like one of the biggest phrases you hear is life is short.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, why not make it longer in whatever way we can, our experience of it. So that's another layer of benefit there.
I love that. And I really hadn't thought about that, but you're right. When you're doing something you enjoy, you're just absorbing and I think you become more, what is it? Where you taking in more of your environment. So you're just
Mhm.
more perceptive. You
Present,
know,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
You're in the moment more.
When what do you see as the biggest shift for your clients when they go from, or the people who come to work with you, when they go from, well, like I think I'd like to learn this, to really feeling confident? Like what do you how do you see that impacting their lives?
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to be able to name it and see it for them more tangibly, because it often is like at a subconscious level that the changes are happening, and very subtle and gradual. This kind of work does that. So yeah, I'd say that the changes start to really be felt after a month or two of this kind of work. And the types of changes you said, people are more confident, I guess, is probably the biggest word I would sum it up. And different people seem to experience it as different things, but the summary is people seem more confident and or powerful about whatever they're choosing to do. And people who have been stuck for a long time on a certain type of project, or in a certain type of job, or in a certain type of relationship, move on. I'm without going into too many detail, I did have a client recently very drastically make a very drastic relationship change. Sometimes the fact that what we do, it opens up these energies, does feel pretty risky and vulnerable. But I feel safe saying it in front of an audience that's already thinking about divorce, because as we know, like sometimes it's the things that are opening up in ourselves and the ways that we're growing and changing that lead to such a
Right.
drastic change.
Sure.
It feels
Yeah.
often like a drastic change. So yeah, that also, it's literally, this work has sometimes precipitated divorce.
Yeah. I was going to say, I have a couple, at least two clients, when you were saying that I can say right now, that talk to me, that the reason they were getting the divorce was they had been very accomplished professionals, in their 20s, 30s, 40s. They were going into their 50s. They were looking at early retirement at 55. They had the 401ks, they had the money in the bank, they had everything. And then they decided that they wanted to pursue this passion, this creative urge they had. One of them, it was an art store, and the other one, it was like her own professional development.
Mhm.
And the unique thing, or the interesting thing, is that both of their partners at the time said, no, we are retiring at 55. But there was no real plan after the retirement. Like there was a trip and then that was it. But the partner just wanted to, that was it. They were done. They were disengaging from the world. Whereas the women that came to me actually wanted to engage with the world the way they wanted to engage with it. And that's what precipitated the divorce. So
Yep.
yeah, certainly can happen.
Hmm. It's pretty common.
So yeah, if you were to give somebody a strategy, and I might be putting you on the spot here, Jenny, but if you were to give somebody a strategy to say, if you want to test the waters and see if this is just like I got to admit, I had this thing that I was going to learn how to crochet, and I bought all the stuff and I got the crochet needles and I started doing it. It was fun for about 3 days. I got half a shawl done and I'm like, oh God, I do not want to do crochet, you know? And I probably will in the winter again, but How do you know if this is what you really want to do? This is where your passion is, or if it's just kind of one of those things that blips up in your mind and then pff, it's gone?
Well, yeah. Coming back to play for a moment, like it is what we want to do, no matter what. So, the strategy that I would recommend in order to find out what out of that you want to do is to do this is, absolutely my prescription for everyone. 3 micro moments of play every day. Things like feeling the sunlight on your skin for just like 30 seconds, uh, or humming under your breath, or swinging on a swing, any number of things, right? And I have all sorts of lists and ideas for this kind of thing. And you can make your own as well. You could even ask Chat GPT to give you ideas of tiny playful things you could do. You'll get a million ideas, and at least a few of them you're going to like.
Right.
So put them on your list and do them. Let them take 5 minutes or less 3 times a day. Once you have some momentum going behind you, what you want to do, whether it's crochet or write an album or start a new business, or get a divorce, what you want to do will kind of grow out of that, because you're just building your own presence. You're building your own connection with yourself and your own energies. Sometimes you need support in that. That's why I'm doing what I do. I become the creative champion for
Right.
people, because it is hard to like keep that momentum going in the face of cultural pressures, in the face of relationship pressures. It's a challenge. So that is why I'm doing what I'm doing, is because it's not easy to do. I myself, as I said at the beginning, had a huge creative champion, and it took me 20 years to write my own album, which is what I really wanted to do. It still took me 20 years after that to write my own album.
Right.
So yeah, and it doesn't have to take that long, right?
Right.
Like I had a creative champion at this point. I ended up making myself into the kind of creative champion that can help people get this going like way quicker than than 20
And
years.
that's what, that's what a coach is all about, right? Help
Oh,
you achieve your goals faster than you can achieve them on your own. So
yeah.
fantastic. Jenny, we have covered a whole bunch of information, and I can never, these calls just go like zip for me, like these. Um, what's the kind of the golden nugget or the words of wisdom you want to leave with people around your area of expertise today?
Yeah, I think earlier that I mentioned sort of make a mantra, and I realized later that I have one that I've been using to just allow ourselves to be creative beings that we are. It's I create, therefore I am. That is, it's the truth about us as humans. And to say that to yourself will start some energy going into that direction.
Absolutely. And you have kindly provided a gift for everybody today. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's a series of creative visualizations and sound or vibrational sound bath kind of stuff that I've created that in the themes of your creative spark, your creative abundance, and your creative passion, and it helps to kind of unlock those 3 things throughout the series. There are a series of 8-minute meditations, and there's 3 of them have spoken word visualizations along with them, and the other 3 are just the direct sound vibration to help move those energies within yourself. We didn't get into that part of what I do, but that's there in those. And
Yeah.
do you need it? You'll have the
No,
link to that
I've
in.
got the link and that will be in the show notes. And if you could give us one last thing, if people want to find out more about what you do, they can obviously, and I'm going to encourage them to get your gift, but how can they find you online?
That really is the best way, is to
Okay.
go to that, because then you're on my list and you'll see all the programs that I have going on. I'm also, as Jenny Elinora, I'm also on all the socials. I'm on Facebook. Well, not all of them. I'm on mostly Facebook and on LinkedIn. So you can find me there too. I am so open to direct messaging. Yeah, I would love to hear from you about anything in any of the play and creativity areas of expansion and or stuckness within your life.
Wonderful. And as you can tell, Jenny is a great person to chat with, and she is so positive, so creative, and so uplifting. So definitely reach out if you're interested in learning more. Jenny, thank you so much for being here today. And I
Thank
would
you,
like to
Mardi.
Oh, you're welcome. And I would like to thank everybody for listening in to this episode of The D Shift. And don't forget to tune in again next Tuesday. Thanks for listening and supporting the D Shift podcast. If you would like to attend live trainings by our amazing guests and have a chance to ask questions and get answers from our experts, join the D Shift crew. For more details and to sign up, head on over to www.divorcecoachforwomen and click on the podcast page.